I don't know if you could. I don't know if you could hear me, but I can hear you. I mean, I can't hear you. You're muted.
It's cold.
Cold. That is
It's
that's a
very
sharp.
cold.
It's like a very business-like, ready for the world type look.
Ah, well, that's good because I'm just not feeling it. But, you know, appearances matter, right?
Appearances absolutely do matter. As long as you can back it up, and you can back it up, especially with the couch and the office chair, hoisting the couch. That was beautiful.
I got a lot of that going around. I'm all over the couches. Yeah. How are
And
you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's always interesting having a webinar because it could be 100 million people, it could be nobody. But
Yeah,
I'm prepared if it's just you and I.
all good. All good, Jerry.
Yeah. So I think well, the time is still
We're
58.
we're early. We're early. It's all good.
So you are you reached out to Alan
Yep.
Johnston, and so are you still pursuing that that path when your songs are mixed and everything?
Well, I'm not sure what he was saying because it sounded like without streams, they wouldn't be interested. That's what it sounded like. And I don't have any streams yet.
I see. Well, so
Like so he would need to see a good streaming performance is what I kind of got out of that. And I sent him an email to clarify that and I never heard back.
okay.
So what I was going to do on that one, I'm working on, so one of the discussions tonight, I'm working on my marketing strategy, right? Which is going to come first? What am I going to do? I think with that one, I'm going to actually pay to have a video done for that.
Cool.
Um, on Fiverr,
Fiverr.
Fi Fiverr. So on that one, I saw there's one guy that does animation, but he does it very, very well. So the animation is uh better than what you would expect on like the games that
Yeah,
people play, computer gaming, right?
yeah,
um
absolutely.
they have the 3D kind of, it's so much better than that. It's so much tighter, it's much more realistic, and it's some of his work, he had little clips, are very dark, and I like that
Yeah,
for this kind of song. So that will be, I want to get a video for that because I think I'll get the streams if I have the right video for that one. That one's very moody song. So it just releasing it on its own, it needs to have the visuals. So hello, we got more people coming in.
yeah.
Um, but I can send you a copy of the response and you can take a look at it. Maybe I misunderstood, but I'll go back to him. I'll go back to him because I just need to know what I need to have.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gathering up a couple of songs to send him. As a matter of fact, the three that I'm having, mastered in Dolby, we talked about that. Those will be the three that I send to Alan. So,
Oh,
if he
good.
he needs video, then I'm out of the box too, because I'm not going to do any video production for those. But let me say hello to Matthew. Matthew, how you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you, Jer?
Good, good. This is Anna, and
Hi,
Hello.
Anna.
Anna,
Hi.
part of our EntreMusician community. And this is Matthew who signed up. So I'm just waiting a couple more minutes for people to get in, but I welcome you, my friend. What city are you from?
I'm in Emmaus, Pennsylvania, which is part of the Lehigh Valley. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Allentown, you know the song Allentown that
Yeah,
Billy
yeah,
Joel wrote?
yeah.
Very, very close to Allentown.
Amazing. Do you know where you ever heard of Youngstown, Ohio?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'm from Youngstown. I'm sitting here in Youngstown right now.
Oh, okay.
That's cool. So we're about what, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours? Or is it
Little,
Allentown?
little further than that. I think it takes me almost 6 hours to get to Pittsburgh.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Pittsburgh is an hour and a half from where I'm at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
maybe hour 15. And Anna's way up in Canada, so it will take me, much longer to drive. I have to pack a lunch
Yeah.
You need more than a lunch, that's for sure. But I did find out my cousins are actually down near Wheeling, West Virginia, the
Really?
border of Ohio,
Wow.
down at the bottom over there. They're somewhere there. Because I remember when we went to visit them a couple of times when I was very young, we went through Pittsburgh as well. But it's been a long time. Don't ask me to describe any places.
A lot of hills though, right? Going
A lot of hills. Yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty down there.
absolutely. Absolutely. So Allentown though, I mean, you guys got a lot of hills and valleys in that part of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we're right up against the Blue Mountains, which is, I guess it's like an offshoot of the Appalachian Mountains, and I'm not quite sure.
Wow.
I don't know my geography that well.
How's the driving for you then in the wintertime?
It's not great. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of curvy roads, and they don't like to repaint the lines on the road when they get worn off. So it's like you always wonder, as you're going around a curve, it's like, is this the edge of the road?
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
it's a little scary sometimes.
that is absolutely incredible. Yeah, because I've driven down to Baltimore and you're going straight through PA, to
Yeah,
get, and boy, the ups and the downs and the semis that are coming down behind you, it's like, okay,
yeah,
just go ahead
yeah.
and take it. I'll take the soft shoulder for a minute. I don't care.
There you go. Right, exactly. Yeah, you got to pick your battles. You know what I mean?
That's
I'd rather, yeah, I think I would rather hit a tree than like get hit by a 20-ton truck at 60 miles an hour.
absolutely.
Take my chances.
That's right. The plastic surgery would be less, less
Yeah.
repair. Nanad is from Serbia, so we would have to take several flights to go out to see
Oh
him.
wow.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. From somewhere to New York, from New York to London, or you could go to Canada, and from Canada to London, and from London to Belgrade. Yeah, that's the fastest route. But I think there is something from Belgrade directly. Anyway, I'm sorry I'm late. I had to change my SSD today,
Yeah.
and I had to reinstall everything, and I didn't finish, of course, but I, finished at least Zoom and Dropbox and some basic things so I can start working. So that's why I'm late a bit.
That's
That's
quite
not a
all right.
problem.
In fact, I'm going to give just 45 more seconds, just 45, just to make sure that everybody
Yeah,
has.
I've shared the link, but people in Serbia are not too many musicians in Serbia are skilled enough with English language, and that's their problem. I mean, they can have basic communication, but nothing more than that. So they're reluctant to join meetings like this.
So we're going to have to get you certified so that you can be our official Serbia EntreMusician translator.
Well, I'm wondering if there's technology that could do the audio translation for you, Jerry. Do you think
Like
maybe?
subtitle, like
Yeah.
subtitles.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah, Google is working on something that should do that, but basically, whenever there is a spoken word, that's a huge problem for translating, because written word when artificial intelligence and machine translating is in question. Of course, written word is something else because then the software recognizes it. But with speaking, there's a lot of problem.
Yeah.
With machine translation. It doesn't catch properly everything, and of course there is a huge distinction between Serbian and English language, because you don't have cases for nouns, and we have 7 cases for nouns. You deal with nouns with prepositions: for me, to me, by me, and so on. But in Serbian, you have suffixes added to the noun, and that changes the whole word is changed by suffixes. So basically, there's a lot of problem. It's easier from French even, because in France there are 4 cases for nouns, so it is going to be easier from French to Serbian and vice versa. But the English is uncommon because it doesn't have cases. You know, you have genitive case. That's it.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
and what are these musicians like? Are they like you in terms of what they're doing, or are they
You know,
more traditional musicians,
yeah,
or?
yeah. Well, basically, a music scene in Serbia is versatile, quite versatile. You know, you have from punk bands to jazz, depending on what the people like, because there is no audience. So basically, you have all the audience only for that some sort of Balkan music, which is, you know, not of huge quality, but it's very popular. I don't know why. And you know, it sounds like some sort of mixture of modern dance music with Oriental singing, and that's hugely popular around Balkans for, I don't know, 20 years. And for the other genres of music, you don't have much audience, but people are doing it for the love of it. And so you have a lot of musicians varying from, you know, punk, alternative rock, independent scene, or something like that, to jazz. Not well, I think I'm the only one doing funk, literally at the moment.
You call that funk? I call it eclectic, but I haven't forgotten about you, Nainat. As soon as the summer's over and I can clear out my schedule within a few weeks, I'm going to get back to that
Oh,
song.
thank you.
We'll
Yeah,
finish.
thank you. That will be great because and even just to use a bit of more seconds, I sent to Buddy some of the demos that I've been working on for Jezabella, and it turns out that he's doing the bass. He did the bass for the song, and so I'm going to send to you all, to musicians, to check it out, and maybe you add something, and maybe you have, maybe we will have, you know, like cooperation through the entire EntreMusician. So also, Anna, no lyrics, no, at the moment, no lyrics, only the chorus. So if you want to do lyrics and, you know, the vocals for that song, that would be great. So maybe we could do something like the whole EntreMusician.
Look forward to hearing that. That sounds fun.
Okay, I'll share it on the next meeting because I cannot. He sent me last night, but starting the morning, my computer broke down and I had to change. And I didn't even hear it. I just seen that he sent me, and that's it. You know, so waiting for that.
That's another thing, Jerry, put it on your list because my technology has been giving me problems the last couple of months as well. And a lot of it has to do with storage. I'm chewing up storage and I'm not very good at managing it and I haven't had time to really focus on it. But just the technology that we use might be a good theme for discussion at some point in time. Just, you know, tips, things that we can be doing proactively, watching for, I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Sure. I will add that to the list of things that are happening. But without further ado, because I don't want to bore Matthew. Matthew, I know them and I don't yet know you, so that we can have a similar discussion. But Anna and Nat and I have known each other for several months. That they are part of the EntreMusician community. We're expecting more to climb in, but I don't want to hold you up. If you would, once again, just for Nat's sake, just give a quick introduction as to where you are. He won't know anyway, but it's just right.
Sure. I'm from Emmaus, Pennsylvania, which is very near the city of Allentown, which is, you know, a song by Billy Joel. So maybe that's a good reference.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks.
So we're going to get started. I trust you can see my screen, the one-day journey, mindset, discipline, and focus. Everybody sees that?
Yeah.
Basically, this is just an overview of the core principles taught by the EntreMusician. There's a 3-day journey that we'll talk about, and then there's a 3-month journey should you choose to get really, really deep in. But of course, Anna and Nanette know me. So this is primarily for Matthew and for those who have requested a replay. I did get some signups that said the time and the Eastern Standard and they're on wherever. But I'll just do a quick little walkthrough because I think it could be explained best in pictures. So there's that guy over there. His name is Jerry. He's been in music like all of his life. Probably right here. Can you see my mouse if I'm doing that? Is that cool? You can see that?
Yeah.
So Sound Doctrine was a band we put together back in 2001. Sound Doctrine kind of went on hiatus right before the shutdown. You can see the albums that we put out down at the bottom. This first one here, Perseverance, was released in 2002, and we went all the way up to about 2017 or so. So there are a couple other projects that, by God's grace, I was able to be on producing and collaborating with, but these are the ones that I'm most responsible for. As a matter of fact, these two right here, I just got back from CD Baby because, you know, CD Baby doesn't sell CDs anymore. So they want to know, what do you want to do with this inventory? I was like, well, you know, it costs us money to make them. I don't want you to recycle them. That was their word. So anyway, by the time we were getting into 2019 or so, because I have a background in radio, I started the EntreMusician just because podcasts were starting to be all the rage. So basically, I was talking to a lot of musician friends, and we were on the basis of what we would advise a younger musician to not do. And if they didn't do these things, they would be successful. So that's kind of the premise of where the podcast began. And then I began to interview musicians of higher caliber, of greater notoriety, and that's where I met Vance Anderson. So Vance Anderson and Linda Bolero, who's a professor at not Moody, she's a professor at Berklee College of Music. We began saying, well, what does the EntreMusician look like beyond just the podcast? So in addition to the podcast, we began dialoguing about this community, which we now have, and which Nanad's a part of, and Anna is a part of a regular basis. And Matthew, invitation is absolutely open. But with respect to that, the EntreMusician began to grow. Now, these two stations down here, this station VizD is on the Roku network, whether you have a Roku device or Roku TV, and they're out of San Antonio, Texas. Well, they began airing the podcast, and so did Armstrong Cable, which I don't have cable, but it's a cable company that roughly serves about 250,000 subscribers in Northeast Ohio and Western PA, and they begin to air the podcast as well. So sometimes it's easy for me to look at my YouTube numbers, which are really low and dismal at times, but I'm grateful that I still have two other outlets where the podcast is being aired. So that's been really good. I put together the EntreMusician, the Path of the EntreMusician book, because I was looking at leaving my job, which I did in December, a job that I had been with that organization for 18 years, but as different things and different opportunities were coming, I had to make a decision. So I chose me, and my wife and I prayed about it, and we, thought about it, and it's like, okay, well, this is the way that we're going. And so I started kind of looking at mindset, discipline, and focus as a way to, do I believe this? If I'm going to teach this and share this, if I'm going to grow this community, do I believe? And that's really the premise of the book. And in putting that together, I discovered those 9 keys, which we'll talk about a little bit as we go along. What grew from that is I had a conversation with Greg Roton, who is the program manager for Armstrong, and we started talking about a TV show called Artist Impact, which is sort of like an American Idol without the cash prizes or the competition. So independent musicians send in their performance videos, and because I've been blessed to have a few friends in the industry, they critique the performance of these independent musicians. So we've done about 22 episodes already, and there's no sign of slowing down. So that's really been good. And as Anna said, put this on the list of things you have to do. This is a big part of it because it's a nice production that happens because we get musicians from all over the world. In fact, there's one sitting here right now. And Nanad was on episode 21, I believe. You were just on the last episode. So yeah. So
I hope it's not going to be the last.
No. It won't be the last, but But yeah, we do have videos that are coming in from all over the place. And so that's really cool. Lastly, the last thing I'll say about this is just because I want you to know, as we begin to talk about mindset, discipline, and focus, once you start going down that trail, opportunities begin to happen. As a result of the book, and as a result of some of the videos that I do on LinkedIn, iClassical Academy reached out to me because they thought, after reading the book, that this lesson or series of lessons, because I wasn't thinking about it as a course, but it could apply to their students who are mostly classical students. And man, so we've just in the last 2 months finished the curriculum for iClassical Academy, and it's a part of their course. One school is in Switzerland and the other in Italy, and it's an online institution, very prestigious, and I'm grateful to be a part of it as a result of this little guy over here just deciding to step out by faith. So I'm showing you all of that because I want you to know, first and foremost, that I am crazy. This is just agriculture. It's not about who the person is. There's often been a part of my life sometimes where I've looked at others and their achievements and what they've accomplished, and it's like, oh God, I could never do that. They're just people. I'm just a guy. And if you put a seed into the ground, if you water it and expose it to the right elements, it will grow. And that's what the EntreMusician is all about. So what is an EntreMusician? I had Nanad do a video. Remember the video you did? And I had a couple others, you know, give their plight on it. But if I had to break it down, we are entrepreneurial first and foremost. I'll give you the background story. I don't know who read this book. Did anybody read Dave Ramsey's EntreLeadership? I read this book about 20 years ago. In reading this book, I decided if I could apply the principles that Dave Ramsey taught, which is called EntreLeadership, entrepreneurial leadership, I would be an EntreMusician, right? So nobody from Dave Ramsey has contacted me with a cease and desist letter. I don't think I'm big enough yet for their attorneys to come after, but we put that together based on a lot of the principles that Dave teaches. But we're entrepreneurial, we're music business oriented, we have a keen sense of the music industry, and we know the roles associated and how to either do them or delegate them. So we learn as much as we can about what's happening in this ever expanding and changing industry. We're creative, which is not just artsy creative or talented, but we have the ability to be flexible, to be tenacious and pivot and push the boundaries of the lanes that we're in. The one thing that I couldn't fit on here is how many acting opportunities that I've taken advantage of. I've been in plays and community theater. I've been in 2 indie films. And so that's something that is not in my passion lane, but I like to stretch the boundaries and find out, can I do this? And it's worked out okay. Obviously, we're musical, so that's pretty much what an EntreMusician is. Well, why mindset, discipline, and focus? Again, it's not a cute slogan. It is the lifeblood of the EntreMusician. You know, working with different marketing teams, you have to come up with something. It's got to be catchy. But that's not me. There's been times in my life, significant times, especially if you would have known me 35 years ago, where my mindset was rotten. It was jacked up. I had a scarcity mindset. I had no discipline at all. In fact, I'm grateful. I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I'm so grateful that with my dream of making it in the music industry, that I didn't make it at that point in my life because I had no discipline. I would have blew myself apart. You know what I mean? I was doing enough drugs at the time. I was doing enough things that were just like absolutely awful. And can you imagine? We've seen the devastation of the stars who have lost their minds because they have no discipline. So I had to learn discipline. And after you have your mindset on point and your discipline on point, then the next thing is to focus, is to aim it like a laser to that thing that you're going to. So MDF, I made one word out of it, mindset, discipline, and focus. MDF works it for any genre, any age, any generation, any technology, any marketing plan, any demographic, anything that has to do with your being in the music industry. Mindset, discipline, and focus. If that's not together, then you won't be together. So who do we put this workshop together for? Everyone who's in the entertainment industry, especially those of us who are age 50 and over. That was really important to me to set a standard, because I ran into so many musicians, especially when we began putting our podcast together, that these musicians feel like time has passed them by. Like, well, that was for when I was young. Like, I have nothing to offer. They may not say that verbally, but you ask them about certain things they're doing, and it's just like the career is on the shelf. And my heart, because I feel like I still feel like I'm 19. I'm not. Everybody knows it. The gray hairs give me away, but I'm ready to go like every day, and I want to provide that encouragement. And I did it for a very selfish reason, because when I talk about Smokey Robinson or Led Zeppelin or Tower of Power or Parliament Funkadelic, I don't want to have to explain it to the kids. You understand what I mean? I just want to be able to say, hey, you know, when Marvin Gaye, da da da, and we can just keep the conversation moving. So that's another reason why my demographic, or our demographic, is for 50 plus. But if you feel like you've lost your edge or having trouble keeping up with trends and technology, if you feel overwhelmed spiritually and emotionally, if you want to improve your production and presentation, if you feel like you're always close, because that was a part of, I'm like, oh, I'm almost there. I got into the top 10 with one of my songs on contemporary jazz chart, but I didn't get to 5. I didn't get up there. You know what I mean? Felt like I was just hopscotching. So if that's you, this workshop, as we go through it, is definitely for you. And if you're looking for an encouragement community, the EntreMusician is one. Here's where I'll stop talking for a minute, because we have 2 bona fide members of the EntreMusician community. They're not plants, they're real people. Do you guys feel encouraged?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, Anna, go ahead.
Yeah,
No,
well,
it's
go ahead.
the biggest thing for me is, well, 2 things that you're providing for me. One is the community itself, which really targets our demographic. So we understand each other. We're at the same playing field. We know the challenges. They're all common for all of us. And that's helpful. That's helpful to have that kind of support and encouragement. And the other thing is just the knowledge sharing, really having a community for the sake of knowledge sharing and experience. Everybody that comes in, it's a different genre, it's a different place on the globe, it's a different perspective, but fundamentally they're very similar scenarios, and it's nice to be able to hear different people's experiences and learn from it and share. So I think the community is awesome. I love it.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to try to clip that out of that and use that as a testimonial.
Yeah, too bad I changed the lighting on my laptop. I needed to get sorry.
That's quite all right. Another important aspect is this in red right here, right down. If you don't want to die with any regrets. And that hit me hard about 7 years ago when I went to a funeral service of a young man who was singing. His dad had passed away. His name is Sheldon. And we were producing a single on him, and just went to the calling hours as a means of respect. And there was this music that was playing in the hall that they had the service in. And I couldn't figure out who the music was after like 4 or 5 songs. It was a long receiving line. So it'd been in line maybe a half hour or so. And so as I greet the family and I lean into Sheldon, I said, man, you have chosen some very beautiful music. And I said, you mind me asking who that is? And he said, well, that was my dad's music. But, you know, he never thought it was any good. You know, he worked at General Motors, and on the weekends he would be in the basement and he would be doing his thing, but he never released it, never put it out. Man, that hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, that's not going to be my story. That's not me. My music is here to serve others and to be out on the streets. And even if 3 people benefit from it, then that's great. You understand what I mean? So I don't want to die with any regrets. And so that's why some of the things that we're going to talk about, especially when we get into the spiritual aspect and the emotional aspect, I'm a man of faith, but I'm not trying to push my faith on anyone. But there are things that you just have to realize, wow, I can't really explain that. That has to be spiritual. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so with respect to that, that's who this workshop is for. What you can expect is the truth. You can expect to be challenged. You can expect encouragement. You'll see that word all night. You can expect an opportunity to think differently as we walk through these lanes. And you have an opportunity to disagree. This is not about me. This is about us. And you may have a better perspective on something that I present that I can learn from. So you definitely have the opportunity to do that. And you can expect, as I said, a few scriptural references as we move forward. In fact, let's just start with a scripture right off the bat to just jar everybody, okay? When we talk about mindset, here's an interesting passage of scripture which says, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, just, pure, lovely, whatever is commendable, if there's anything excellent, if there's anything that's worthy of praise, think on these things. Often I'm with several musicians who complain, streaming services are doing this, yada, yada, can't get a gig, not getting paid. It's just like, and you feel like when you're with them, it's like, okay, but what is going right? Tell me one thing that's going right in your music. So I thought, wow, this is something when we talk about mindset, if we set the table for a positive, healthy mindset, we're already out of the starting gate and we're winning because our minds are set on things that are positive. Mindset is a position. That's what we say. Mindset is a position. It's a fixed place. It's where you live. It's what you believe. It's the essence of your being. In fact, your mind is you. It's hard to separate you from how you think, because how you think is going to show on your face. It's going to envelop your countenance. If you're happy, you know it. When my wife is mad, I get it immediately. She doesn't have to say anything. Boom, right there. Something's up. Because your mindset is you. And so it's a position. This passage of scripture, and there's only going to be a couple more, but it says, don't be conformed to the world's way of thinking or systems or processes, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Again, we have the responsibility of being able to change our mind. Our mindset is a posture. Like in sports, I've played few sports, not well, but I've played, and I understand that there's a posture that you have to take. And either you're playing offense or defense. It's awful, like when I was in the 8th grade, to take a posture and I was supposed to be playing offense and I tackled my own teammate. Wrong. This is wrong. Not good. Coach wasn't very happy. So mindset, the posture that I take is absolutely important because we know our position and we need to play it well. There are 4 mindset postures. One is the fixed mindset that has positive and negative attributes. The growth mindset only has positive attributes. We'll talk about these a little bit. The scarcity mindset has only negative attributes, and the abundance mindset only has positive attributes. These are the 4 postures that we can take in any given time. As a matter of fact, the fixed mindset is pretty interesting because, again, like we said, once you set the table for your mind, you want to be fixed right there. This is the position that I'm taking. But the negative aspect of that is sometimes, and you know as well as I do, there are people who can be so fixed, so rigid, that there's no room for flexibility, depending on the situation. And that's a negative thing. Now, I'm not talking about them compromising their constitution in any way. I'm just saying that there's some times where we have to be flexible to allow a situation to develop with another musician in another situation that would be to our benefit. But if we're like this all the time, that's going to be negative. So it's cool to have a fixed mindset. The growth mindset is only about expansion. The scarcity mindset is where I was. I used to live there because I thought if another musician made it, then they're taking something from me. Like they're getting my slice of the pie. But abundance mindset says there is no pie. There's no pie. let me confess something to you all. You can look this up on Google. For a significant, I thought that Chris Rock, you're gonna laugh, Chris Rock was living my life. Okay. Chris Rock was born only hours before me. He on February 7th, 1965, me on February 8th, 1965. And although I didn't want to be a comedian, all of the accolades and the movies and the opportunity that he got, that dude is taking something from me. I should be on that stage. You think I'm joking? I'm trying to keep it light and comical, but I really felt that deep down inside. Didn't want to see any of his movies. I was envious. I don't know this guy from Adam, but that was just a scarcity mindset that I had. I had to get free from that because there's no pie. That's his life,
Right.
and I live my life. Can you dig it?
Absolutely.
So let's just take a moment, and I will give myself a break. And do you want to talk about these postures or anything that I'm saying? You have any questions before we move forward?
No, not really. I mean, I'm familiar with you know, the four mindsets from previous readings and things like that. Um, I I I I guess one question that I have is, how do you lock into one? Like, I find myself personally, it fluctuates. You know, some days I'm in that, I'm all about that growth mindset, everything's great, and then something happens and knocks you off your balance, and then all of a sudden you're in this scarcity mindset, you know. And so and that's why I'm here today, Jerry, you know, to learn to learn about how to maybe um, be better with controlling that, and learn some of the tools that you and your community use to take advantage of the abundance and the growth mindset. But that's really the only question I have, if that is even a question.
Yeah, it is a great question, and it really is about, it's about discipline, which, you know, we'll cover that because discipline is daily incremental steps and adjustments that you have to take, because nobody's perfect. You're not going to bat 1,000 each time, you know, and you need to know, we need to know how to fail forward, how to fail, make mistakes, screw up in a way that we can just get up and dust ourselves off and everything is cool. We try again. You know, how many times have I failed? You know, I mean, I don't know, 7 million maybe last week. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
so once we realize it though, and that's the truth, Matthew, once we realize, oh, I'm not thinking the way I should, that's growth already. Because there
True.
was a time where I was thinking incorrectly and didn't know it, was too ignorant and
Mhm.
less self-aware to even think that's the wrong way to think. No,
Mhm.
this is just the way I am. Okay. When we do our when we do the 3 month, we ask 100 questions, 250 actually. Thomas, who's just getting on here, was a student of our 3 month program. And I know he's on mute, but once he gets off, he can tell you it was really 250 questions that we walked through, because it's necessary to break off this, I don't know who I am, or I'm this way, I act this way because I'm Black, or because I'm Italian, or because I'm Serbian, or because boom. Well, it really, is that really you? Is that really true? Is there really a stereotype that you have to act a certain way? No, there's right and then there's wrong. Act the right
Right.
way. You dig it?
Right.
So
Yeah.
does anybody have any other questions or anything else before we move forward?
Nope.
Good.
No, I think it's a good point though, Matthew, and that could be just an area that we can help you with, right? So as you come up with stuff, and as you recognize that you may not be thinking of something in the best possible light for yourself, we can have those conversations as a team. You can ping any of us individually that you might connect to. This is a family. It's more than a community. I just want to say it's really a family, and dialogue and sharing of experience will go a long way.
It's absolutely right.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely right. So these are the 4 mindset postures and 7 things to play your position, to assume your posture is number 1, is to define success. The reason we say that is because number 1, we've spent a significant amount of our lives allowing others to define what success looks like to us. If you don't have 1,000 views, if you don't have this, if you're not here, then you're not successful. That's crap. We might as well throw that away and define what success looks like for us. Now, I know 2 men who are near and dear to me, and one is a quadriplegic. Success for him is last year, he learned how to feed himself with a long spoon, and that's all he can do. That's success.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing I can do just because I can play my drums pales in comparison to that. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
We need to say, this is what my success looks like. I'm going to accomplish this. And whatever it is, whether it takes you 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, if you set that for yourself, that's fantastic. So define success yourself. As we said before, never complain. Number 3, utilize selective hearing, something my wife says I do very, very well. But selective hearing in the sense of when you hear bad news, especially about the music industry, how do you receive that? The latest bad news is AI is going to take all of our jobs and write songs, and there's not going to be any more music industry. Hogwash, rubbish. I'm not listening to that garbage.
Mm-hmm.
I received an email from musicsupervisor.com, which I'm a part of, and they send me briefs often so that I can write and submit music for different film or TV opportunities. Well, Barry sent, which he was doing the right thing, he sent a letter by saying, hey, you know, with this writer's strike that's going on in Hollywood, that's how come the briefs have kind of slowed down. I understand the reality of that situation, but in my selective hearing, the next question became, okay, so what can I do now? What's next? I'm still going to write music, okay? Because somebody, they're gonna figure it out. They're gonna come off strike or something's gonna happen. I bought new equipment and new plugins for my DAW that I now have time to learn actually how they work. You know what I'm saying? So the selective hearing helps you. It doesn't stop you. But some people, I've heard them say, oh my gosh, now I can't, da, da, da. And that's where their energy and their focus goes. Selective hearing helps. The 4th thing is to be a giver. I think Anna put it very, very well. We're not just a community, we're a family, and we're all about giving. And it doesn't matter the amount or the resource that you're providing, even if you give a smile, you know, a kind word. Practicing being a giver absolutely helps you to play your position well. Make a positive agreement with yourself. As you said, Matthew asked the question, how do I get out of this scarcity mindset or this mindset? Well, I'm going to make a better agreement with myself that no, that's not who I am. This is who I am. And then I continue to learn, which again is why you need community. I'm pushing community, but we learn from each other. We give and we receive. We share resources. Have you read this article? Did you go to this website? Did you know about this? Oh. Now we're growing and learning. And the last one is to act the part. You absolutely have to act the part of an EntreMusician. I don't know it all. I don't pretend to know it all, but I act the part. As I said before, I do have acting experience. And you know what's really interesting? When you fall into character, has anybody else ever acted before? Have you ever been on stage in an acting role or in film or something? You know what's really interesting? I say this with all my heart. Once you begin to really believe that you're that character, my name was Bill once, I was Robert, and after a certain amount of time, I began to answer according to that name. Hey, Bill, hey, that's me, you're in it. And so as an EntreMusician, you begin to act, you begin to espouse the principles and the values, and you grow into it. That makes sense?
Yep.
The next thing, of course, in mindset is whatever you tell yourself, your mind will agree with you. Whatever you say, your mind is like, yep, that's cool, whether it's positive or negative. If you say, I can't do it, your mind says, absolutely, you're right, we can't do it, and it shuts down. That's it. If you say, I cannot afford this, your mind says, you're right, we cannot afford it. And any semblance of you trying to save your pennies to get it will be futile because your mind has wrapped you up that we can't afford it. If you say this is too difficult, yep, you're right. Your mind will run concentric circles around that thing and depress you and discourage you and dissuade you that you can't do it because it's too difficult to do. But flip it, and whatever you want to make happen, you can make happen. That sounds like pie in the sky. I know it sounds like pie in the sky, but that other guy that we met earlier at the beginning, he's actually doing a couple things within the last several years to prove that mindset, discipline, and focus works. So I began to tell myself, I can do this. Hey, can we do a TV show with, yeah, I can do it. But I can do it, right? Because I told myself I could. So here are questions that I need to ask myself. Really, we talked about this. Who am I really? What do I truly believe? How far along am I on my dream path? Because I do have a dream path. We'll talk about that for just that amount of time. How much do I negotiate my own perspectives, motives, and intentions? I made that red so you'll know that's one line, but do I negotiate my own perspective? Again, that goes to that tightrope of walking that fixed mindset. If I said I'm going to do something, if I promised Nanad, hey, I'm going to come through with you on this, am I going to let this persuade me differently? No. Nanad and I made an agreement, and I'm coming in on the agreement. I am a man of my word. I am a man of integrity. I have told myself that this is who I'm going to be in this regard. And again, what regrets will I die with? You should write them down. You should write down, they talk about a bucket list, and I think they made a movie on it or whatever. You should write them down. This is what I want to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to accomplish this. What excuses am I allowing to limit my true potential? Have a conversation with yourself and your significant other so you can get that on. Is everybody cool so far?
Yeah.
All right. Any questions before we move on to discipline?
No, I would just like to add something about the goals that you have to put in front of you. It doesn't have to be a few slides before the 7. No. After define success. So it's defining success. You don't have to. I was talking to myself. You don't have to define the ultimate success that will come. Define the success for this month, for this week, for the new song that you're making. What is going to be that success? And then you build on another success. Okay, now I get here. What shall I do this month, this week, with this new song, whatever? So defining the success for me, because when you start thinking you're thinking about the ultimate goal. Like define success. All right, I would like to sell 100 million copies of my album, and I would like to be on Wembley with, I don't know, 120,000 people in front of me. And how am I going to do that from this position? Well, I don't know. It sounds impossible. But if I start defining success week by week, one step at a time, this is success for me to do this, to learn a new DAW, to install new VST plugin and learn how to do with it, to create a new song. And by building new things after each success, because you got the positive feedback from the thing that you've done. It's just positive. And defining new successes after each one just will eventually bring you to the ultimate thing. Just wanted to add that, so that defined success for me was, wow, it's too huge. But then I started in my head dividing it into small steps that I can really achieve one by one by one.
That's good.
Mhm.
That's good. That's good. In radio, we used to call that back timing, meaning that, you know, if the show is going to start at 6 minutes after the hour, you know, what's going to happen? The other show is ending at 10:58. We have to do public service announcements, commercials, the news at the top of the hour, all of these things. So we would actually back time from, say, 5:06 to 4:58. And all of those steps needed to go in place so that the audience didn't miss a beat. Boom, boom, boom.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's those incremental steps that you want to do to get to that goal. I had I had a friend, he's still a friend. I shouldn't say I had him. I didn't throw him away or anything. We meet for coffee, not as regularly as we used to, but he's a multimillionaire. He's significantly older than me by maybe about 30 years. And I asked him early on when we started meeting for coffee, I said, Jim, how did you amass your wealth? He's a very down to earth guy. Just, he'd walk in the room, you don't know it. He doesn't have any heirs or anything like that. And he said, and I leaned in because I'm thinking, this is it, man. He's going to give me like the secret to wealth. He said, Jerry, I sat down at my kitchen table and I made a list of everything I needed to do, and I began doing it.
Yeah. Simple.
Okay. So I went home and made a list too. So there we are. And look, and I say this with complete respect. I met Anna Nicholson. I met Nanad. I met Thomas Alexander, and now I'm meeting Matthew because of this list. Right? You never know. You never know. It's an incredible thing. All right, I'm going to move forward. Discipline. Okay, interestingly, discipline often has a negative connotation attached to it. That's if you live in Youngstown, Ohio. I should say that. Maybe Nanad and Anna and Thomas is from Canada as well. Maybe they had different experiences, but my grandparents would always say, if you don't stop that young man, I'm going to discipline you. Oh, so discipline, you grow up with that word on you, like, I don't want anything to do with discipline, which is why in my teenage years, I became such a Hellcat because I'm trying to evade discipline as much as I can, right? But what we've decided to do was to make our own definition of discipline because it's absolutely necessary. Discipline is a lovingly firm decision that I continue to make and that I'm able to do. I know for me to attain this success, it's going to be hard, and these steps have to go into place. And there's going to have to be some ritualistic habits, some atomic habits, even that move forward in it. And I don't always want to get up to do that. I would rather watch the game. I would rather do this than doing that. But it's going to take that word, discipline, to be put into place so that I can do it. So if I put the word lovingly in it, that was for me. It was selfish. Yeah, it's a loving, firm decision. It's got to be firm. But you know what? This is going to get me from here to there. So like Nanad said, I have to see myself there, whether it's this week or this month or this year. I have to see myself right there. And once I do, I'm way back here, but I know that with every step that I take in that direction, that disciplined step is going to get me right to my goals. It's a progression. So mindset is a position, discipline is a progression. Same scripture we didn't use this scripture yet. This is what I call my life scripture. And I want you to just check this out. I think this is pretty interesting right here because it seems like an oxymoron is going on. It says, therefore, my brothers and sisters, be steadfast, immovable, but always excelling in the work of the Lord. Okay? Always being continually aware that your labor in the Lord is not wasted, is not futile, it's not without purpose. Now, when I first saw that, I'm thinking, that's crazy because how can you be unmovable but always excelling?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's something that I had to grapple with. But yes, with my mindset being fixed, being determined, knowing I'm going for it, and my discipline pushing me, edging me ahead, I can fulfill what that scripture says. I can be steadfast, I can be unmovable, and I can always excel. And here's the thing, because I know that my work is not wasted, not without purpose, it's not futile. And here's the thing, I know that music is spiritual. Where does music come from? Babies dance at the youngest of ages. They're attracted. There's got to be music from heaven. There's got to be things that are going on. These chords, these notes, these tones. When you watch a scary movie, oh, that F chord is going to like, ah, right? When you're watching a whimsical cartoon, they're going to play music and you're going to, it's a spiritual thing that happens. So I know my music has purpose. I know my music is to be shared with others. I know my music is to glorify the God who gave me the gift in the first place. And sometimes I just want to jam and I turn it up and I play my drums to it and I kick my bass guitar because it's just for the joyful musical expression. And thirdly, it's for earning a profit so that I can expand my opportunities. Sometimes as musicians, if we're professional musicians, if we're entre musicians, we kind of skip that part in our mind. That's something that has to be branded. We provide a service. We write songs, we submit songs, we record songs, we perform songs, and for that, we should receive income. Like a carpenter, like an electrician, like a plumber, like a contractor. Everybody gets paid, but it seems the musician, let me kick this on you, because I said you're going to be challenged to think differently. Here's what I have surmised. Musicians sometimes can do it to themselves to devalue their work, to devalue what they bring to the table. A lot of time it's right here, because what do we say? You know, I got a gig on Saturday, man, I'm playing this gig and I'm going down. It's like, yo, that sounds like fun. That doesn't sound like work. And so the people become acquainted to the fact that musicians play music. We play it. That word there, play, just like you play Monopoly, or you play charades, or you play cards. But what if you changed it up and said, I'm performing this weekend down at Hank's Cafe? Huh. He's performing, right? We have a performance at Cartier's Hall, and we change it up, then we're going to take ourselves a little bit more seriously, and that's going to nudge and force the person to take you seriously as well, because you're not playing a gig.
Right.
I congratulated Thomas, because Thomas has been gigging more lately, and I said, yo, man, congratulations on your gigs. But what I should have said was, brother, your performances are amazing. Grateful that you're doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. That's the first time I ever heard anybody put it that way. And it makes total sense. And it helps you shift that mindset, because you do hear the word play and then it just doesn't seem serious. There's no value attached to it. But if you're performing, you're doing a task like anything else, and it has value and you should be rewarded for it. That's great. I like that. I'm going to start. No more. I'm not using that word play anymore when I talk to my musician friends, because we say it all the time and we don't realize that we're devaluing what we do.
Exactly.
Hey, Jerry. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Bless you. And bless everybody that's here. Unfortunately, I have to log out.
It's all good. I'm glad you stopped by.
All right. Thank you.
Definitely.
See you, everybody.
We'll talk soon.
It's nice to meet you.
Yes.
Briefly.
And you all too. Thank you.
Hi, Thomas.
Bye-bye.
So yeah, that's something that is just one of those little tweaks that we learn on the path of being an entre musician that really changes everything. Because again, as you said, Matthew, it forces you to change you. and what your perspective and position is. And once you change you, others are going to treat you the way you treat yourself. Nobody's going to treat you better than you treat yourself.
Right.
And if you're dogging yourself, well, it's cool. We can jump on Matthew. No problem. He doesn't mind.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Absolutely. So moving forward, again, we looked at this. This was the scripture we looked at, not to be conformed to the world's way of thinking. Musicians play. Musicians shouldn't get paid. If they do get paid, they shouldn't get a lot of money for getting paid, because the club owner is going to say, we only have this much. Well, you have to know your value, and you have to say, well, you know, respectfully, it's going to cost us about $300 more just to start the van to drive the 3 hours to get to the gig, the performance, right? So
Right.
know your value, and then be willing to be firm and flexible in how you present yourself, so that as your value rises, their respect for you rises as well. Don't be conformed, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Discipline places a demand on you so it can draw the gold out of you. I go to the gym and I place a demand on myself to be there to get the work out in, because I know I'm going to regret it if I don't. Discipline requires more than you may be willing to provide. Again, the remote control can be a very comfortable place, but not for me to be able to do what the project requires of me. Discipline expects me to give my all. It allows me to come face to face with the truth. Because look, dude, you're 40 pounds overweight, Jerry. Get it together. What is wrong with you? You cannot carry that belly around any longer. You got to come face to face with the truth of who you really are, of what you really want, and why are you really here? I ask musicians all the time, why are you here? That's nobody asked that question. Why am I here? Well, there could be 100 reasons, but what's the right reason? What's your reason? What are you doing? This is it, man. We got this one life. One. What are you going to do? And that's where I get very passionate about it. But Anna says I can't get too passionate right here because we have to keep moving. So I'm going to keep moving. Discipline confronts fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the ability to move ahead while being afraid. Do it afraid. I'm uncomfortable. I'm nervous. I'm scared. Great. Embrace what that is and do it anyway. Discipline provides us the motivation and the stamina to pursue things we would have otherwise walked away from. I'm not an author, but I've written a book. You see how ironic that is? I'm not an author. But there was discipline in sitting down to say, do I believe this? Really, really believe this. I do. I believe it with all my heart. Nanad, you were going to say something?
No, just following
Okay.
everything.
Gotcha. Yep. So this is discipline. Mindset is position. Discipline is progression. Resources for developing discipline. And in our 3-day class and in our 3-month class, we go into the vision board. We go into affirmation cards. We go into planning properly. We're going into assembling a team around yourself, or an accountability partner, at least. My wife, for me, is accountability partner. She's a realtor. We've raised our children. My oldest is 40, all girls, 40 years old, 26 and 23. So we're empty nesters. And Lori loves the opportunity to make sure that Jerry is where he should be. Like, yo, she's good at it. But whomever you have in your life that you trust to be able to say, okay, Nanad, what's happening? How you doing? Let me hear the project. What's going on? Anna, how are you getting along with the songs? Are the mixes done? Or have you done this? Matthew, what's going on? Did you write that part that you say you're going to write with? It's good to have people in your corner who are like that. Discipline is forever. And here are other aspects that we go into a little deeper. My self-esteem. How do I feel about myself? My self-talk. What am I telling myself? My affirmations, my prayer life, my system of faith. You may have your own belief system, your own constitution, but it needs to be working for you. You need to be true to what that is and not scoff and not blow it off and not relax. How do I train myself to live the life I desire? It's very simple. It's not complicated. I make the demand. I place the demand on myself. I'm going to be here. I begin the planning process, and then I move where and how I can. Again, speed is not the issue. How big of a step you take is not the issue. You can take the smallest steps that you need to take in order to get it done. In many cases, and I'll tell you what has been my fault, I think I've talked about this in our Sunday nights, is my Achilles heel has always been in the review process. Because I'm such a go, go, go guy, I don't stop and evaluate often enough. Say, okay, well, the next time that I do this, like what went wrong? You know, how can I tweak this? How can this be better? So that's something that my accountability partner helps me with. Okay, well, Jerry, before you race off to that next thing, what happened? Look at it, evaluate it, play it like a movie. Let's walk through what happened. So the next time you won't, you know, skin your knee or skin your elbow. You can move forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is about being incremental and increasing. That's what discipline is. Discipline is progression. So I'm going to do this in 12 seconds or less. Start your clock, you know, time me on it. But these are the 9 keys to unlock your mindset, discipline, and focus. You got to start, and you have to believe, and you can't stop. Don't ever, ever stop. Once you get on the on-ramp, what's the interstate, Matthew, that's close to you when you got all those
78.
70? Once you get on that on-ramp, don't stop. You can't stop. You got too many semis behind you anyway.
Right, exactly.
Right? You have to trust. Now, believe and trust are two different things, because believing is inward. Trusting is being vulnerable enough to trust someone else. In this career that we have, whether it's a booking agent or a manager or an attorney or an accountant, as you assemble your professional team, you're going to have to learn to trust. If you're not a trustworthy person and you're very close, it's going to be hard for you to make it in this industry. No matter how small your team may be or how large it grows because of your notoriety, trust is going to be important. And then you have to look. That's focus, which we're getting ready to get into. You have to learn. You have to give. We talked about that before. Be a generous person. Then you have to know how to forgive. Big, huge problem for me. One day I'll tell you the whole story. Every time I raise my hand, the thing comes up like I'm raising my hand. I'm not really doing it. Interesting. But to learn how to forgive others. And there's been some real serious stuff that happens in a person's life, and you can hold that grudge in, you know, but somebody told me it was like I was drinking poison, hoping the other person would die.
Mm.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't forgive. So I had to let go, open up and let go. And that freed me up because that person had forgot about it. Yes, they stomped on my heart, but they got up, wiped their shoes off and kept moving. I was stuck.
Yeah.
So learning how to forgive others and then learning how to forgive yourself, because sometimes you are the person that stumps on somebody else's heart. And when you come face to face with that and you go back and apologize, then you also have to learn to forgive yourself. Then, of course, gratitude. We talked about that at the very beginning. What am I thankful for? Am I complaining, or am I going, you know what, this is right? The things that are true and honest of a good report. That's the 9 keys that this book is based on. Now, before we move on to focus, any questions, comments, gripes, or complaints? Everybody cool?
No, I'm good.
Cool. Focus. Can you imagine the tremendous focus it takes to be a brain or heart surgeon? Does anybody have anybody in their family who is a surgeon? No, neither do I. We do have in our EntreMusician community, Daryl Looney, who is an emergency surgeon. He's been a medical doctor for about 30 years. And the focus that it takes if you're operating on a person's heart or brain, you know, do you know anyone who is this keenly focused on their career? Or most importantly, are you that focused? It's a very challenging question. Focus allows you to take into account the solidarity of your mindset and your continual discipline, like we said at the beginning, and zero in like a laser to cure whatever the issue, problem, situation is, because they are frequently going to come at you. And you have to know how to zero in on them, because a lot of times, I'll say this, we're fighting the symptom and not the root of the problem. You ever been fighting symptoms before?
I
Running
mean,
around?
like when you have a cold, is that what?
No, I'm talking about what is the real problem. So if you have a real problem of, oh boy, my mind draws a blank because there's so many of them that can happen in your career. But often we say, it's the person, and it may not be the person. It may not be your manager. It may not be, oh boy, I'm gonna tell you what, give me a second. I'm gonna keep talking, but give me a second to come up with a scenario. Maybe Nanad or Anna can come up with a scenario for you fighting a symptom, not physical, not a cold, but a symptom of a problem, and it's not the root, but you're going after that thing and you're not really focused on what actually has happened. Why would a person decide to do this? What's going on behind the scenes? What's actually happening? I can talk about marriage all day, I guess. You know, why is my wife disappointed? Did I promise her that I was going to do something? My wife is, I'm the extrovert in the marriage. She's an introvert. So a lot of times it's like mining and trying to get that gold to see what's actually going on. I'm not going to be sexist right here and say anything about women because our dear Anna's here, but a lot of times women can say nothing. Like, what's wrong, babe? Nothing. But we know it ain't nothing.
We're
Right.
diplomatic, Jerry, that's all. We're just really diplomatic. But what I was going to say, you know, even recently for me, the symptom would be inaction or avoidance, as an example. Inaction or avoidance. Granted, I've been really, really busy and very distracted building a relationship that I didn't have to factor that kind of time into my schedule before. So my schedule's off because I'm trying to juggle a few more things than I'm used to. Having said that, I still feel the pressure of the lack of action. And one of the reasons is because I'm at a standstill. I'm at a point where I need to already hold a lot of information and knowledge so that I can take the proper steps right now. But I haven't had the time to acquire that knowledge to gain the confidence to get me there. So I'm suffering the inaction, which is the symptom. But really it's because I need to spend the time to figure out what I need to do next to get me to the next after that and the next step after that. So just throwing it out there as an example.
That's a great example.
Another example that is a bit more external, like I was coming from Europe, I was contacting some jazz festivals in Europe in order to, get booked for the gigs. And more or less the response were, okay, this sounds great, but, and again, another one, this sounds great, but, and the symptom is I'm being rejected. Why? And Jenny will say, yeah, really, this sounds great, because you know I don't want to speak in my name about my music, but
It's
then
great.
again, yeah. But I started to take steps backwards to find the root of the problem. And basically, when I cleared that thing that, you know, it's not my music, it's not that they don't have enough money, but, well, I don't have a proper booking agency. I'm contacting them myself, and basically, the festival having to contact 30 or 50 bands, musicians, and so on in order to be a proper festival. They won't do it band by band. They will contact booking agencies and say, no, we will have this, and band. You finish everything else, because if the festival has to do it performer by performer by performer, they won't be able to do it. So they just pick a few agencies to collaborate with, and they ask them, okay, we have another festival this year coming in 6 months. Who do you recommend us for this year? So basically, that was the root of my problem. I didn't have the proper booking agency to be able to go to the festival. So when I cleared the symptoms, and the symptoms were I being rejected, why? Well, the root of the problem is not my music, not lacking money, not, I don't know, disrespecting the festival or whatever. The root was I didn't have a proper booking agency to do that for me, to make me stand out from the crowd and so on. So basically, that's how you should think about the symptoms and the root of the problem.
It's a perfect
Good
example.
example.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It also makes you look more professional and more
Yeah.
desired. It increases your value because somebody's representing you.
Yeah. So basically, what you know, thinking and speaking about, you know, setting the ultimate goal. My goal for next year is to find a proper booking agency in order to get the final results I want to. So another step that I've learned during the process is, okay, you should find a good, proper booking agency that will represent you in the way that you think your music deserves.
It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Matthew, I think you wanted to say something before Nanette spoke. Were you good?
No, that's good. I mean, those were perfect examples, you know. So it definitely gets my mind thinking on a problem that I'm having, and you know, be thinking about, well, okay, yeah, what's the real issue? You know, I'm fighting the symptom, but I haven't found the real issue yet.
That's what's up. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much for participating, Anna and Nanette. You helped the brother out. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
guys.
that's what
Oh, it's
EntreMusician is
nothing,
about.
Jerry. It's nothing.
Thank you. Focus, rounding third and going to home. Focus is definitely about finding what you're looking for every time. It's just like mindset. It's just like your mind agreeing with you. Well, you will find what you're looking for if, you know, it's positive or negative, even if it's not true. Whatever you're looking for comes to the surface. Again, if you're mistrustful of others, then it doesn't matter whether you just met this person 5 minutes ago. Already you have this wall up because your focus is, I can't trust them. You don't know why, but that role is playing in your mind. If you're an envious person, then you're envious of others and what they have. That's where your focus is. Focus is a precision. So here we go again. Mindset is a position. Discipline is a progression. And focus is a precision. It's not perfection. Nobody's perfect. Your focus is not going to be perfect, but it is measuring twice like a carpenter before you cut once. It's asking questions repeatedly. And I can drive people crazy by asking questions, but I want to make sure that I'm focusing on the right things. And you got to mine through the minutia in order to get at the actual root. My first question is always why? Why? And I ask that of myself, first of all. Why am I doing this? First of all, let me ask this question. This is crazy, but I'm putting myself in Front Street, and I know that people are going to be watching the replays. There's 4 of us on this call. There was 5 of us for about a half an hour, and then there's 4 of us, right? You would think that a person would want 100 people on a webinar. That's a successful webinar. If it were not for Anna and the NAD, who are already part of the EntreMusician community, it would be just Matthew and I. And if it was just Matthew and I would be just as passionate about mindset, discipline, and focus as if there were 100 people. Why? Because I know it works. Because I'm not sharing anything that's just like, oh, this is great. Because if it was great and it was bubbles and, you know, rainbows and lollipops and whatnot, it wouldn't be worth it. I would say to Matthew, you know, Matthew, it's only just you and I, man. Look, let's reschedule. No, this is good. It's transformed my life. So it's worth sharing. So my why is always important. You have to have a why that's strong enough to make you stand out in a blizzard if you need to get what you have to get. So that's always the first question. The second question is a who question. Who comes alongside me to help put this together? As I said before, they're not on this call, but Vance Anderson, Linda Bolero said, hey, let's talk about getting together more often and how we can actually build a community and share resources. So the who's are important, and they should be important in your life, a part of your team. And then, of course, it's when, have to have a deadline, and then where are these things going to take place? Where it can also be is, where is the goalpost so that I know when I've made a touchdown? Make sense?
Yeah.
Focus is seeing what others may not see. Now, here's where we get into some spiritual concepts, because I look where others are not looking. That's training. You know, for example, when we begin to tour, our band began to tour, and we were having problems. We were coming from Youngstown, but we were touring Maryland, DC, Delaware, and Virginia. Okay, contemporary jazz, hot pockets. But we were from Ohio, and nobody really knew us. So I began to look where other promoters were not looking, and I began to partner with charities. Okay, so we, as band, we had favorite charities. We would call the charities and let them know that we would be performing at such and such a place. When we were performing there, we wanted them to bring their material, bring some of their staff, invited them in, and then when we took our breaks, we took intermissions, we would ask them to come up and share about their charities. Word spread like wildfire. Fire. Wow, that's focus. That's doing something that's a little bit different. And now, when are you guys coming back? Looking for what opportunities that others may not see. Focus manifests with what I don't see in the natural. And again, let's get a little bit spiritual here. What I don't see in the natural, so I can pull it down to earth. And the next slide explains that a little bit better. There's this phrase that's called discernment. Now, I must admit that I did not know of this until I was a teenager in the quote unquote black church. You ever heard of the Black Baptist Church? You ever seen those movies?
Oh, yeah.
You know, for real. It was like that for real, right? But discernment meant that I had a knowledge of something that I couldn't see. It wasn't tangible, but somehow I could sense it. Now you have to tie that into focus, because I see it before I see it. And it's really not that woo-woo, because architects do it all the time. We create twice. We create in our minds before it manifests, right? A song is downloaded into our spirit before it gets through our fingers. I hear the melody. Where'd that come from? Right? That's a discerning. There's something that's going on that's beyond me. Faith is the substance of things which are hoped for, the evidence of things that are not seen. I don't see it. I don't see it, but it's there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
People call it crazy. I don't see it, but there it is. Discernment puts into practice the art of expectation, sensing and realizing things which are invisible from the spiritual realm that we can call into existence. Here's the point. Everything I need, everything you need already exists. It's just a matter of where. I can tell my mind it doesn't, and that's it, it shuts down, but I can say that is for me. And somehow my mind helps me to formulate what that is. Boom. And it manifests. Is that too weird for you? I can't explain it.
No, no, absolutely. I mean, I've experienced that, you know, in my life many, many times. And one of the reasons I'm here today, Jerry, is because like that seems not to be happening as of recent. And so I know there's, for I guess lack of a better term, I am not being me. There's a part of me that's missing, and which is why this is happening, why I'm not manifesting the things that I want, you know. Does that make sense?
In fact,
Just a blockage. It's fine.
Can I jump in just a bit?
Yep.
Matthew, I was a musician prodigy as a kid with 14 years, when I was 14 years old. And I stopped playing when I was 34. For 20 years, I haven't been playing, making music, recording, everything else. The last third of those 20 years, like almost even more than third, I had a severe depression that had to be cured with drugs, because so the only way that I got out of that, it wasn't caused by not being a musician, it was caused by other things in my life. But I've got back to music as a part of the process of healing myself from that great depression I had. And I'm cured. And in 3 years, I did 4 albums. One of them is double album with 4 different bands. That just exactly what you're thinking about now, is something is missing in your life. It may not be the crucial thing that is missing, but it's that spice that gives your life a meaning to you. Maybe that's not a meaning for people around you, but that's the meaning of your life for you. And if you're lacking that spice, it's not a good place to be. I can tell you from my own experience. So just put that spice in your life that gives a meaning of your life to you. And that's a great start for everything, for especially for the thing that we're doing here. I hope I made myself, I managed to make myself clear enough for what I wanted to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was extremely clear.
Welcome
I think,
back, man.
Sorry, I didn't catch you.
I said, welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
30 years.
Literally after, I started playing again at 2018, and I feel I'm back on the track now. Just 5 years after, like my life is extremely better. I got out of a bad marriage, of one of the worst marriages that you can imagine, and it was like 8 years ago, and that triggered out the depression and everything else. But now I'm with the beautiful woman. My daughter is doing fine. She's doing great, living with me, and now she went to France to live with the boyfriend. I'm doing music again, like a reborn person, just after bringing that spice, that's music for me in my life, bringing it back. And I'm really a transformed person, like it never happened what happened to me during those 20 years.
It's amazing.
It's absolutely beautiful. I appreciate you being transparent and sharing, man.
Thank you. As I said, I do feel, I will feel entirely grateful for the opportunity that you gave me to meet all those wonderful people in EntreMusician, not only for the knowledge and everything else, but also for finding a huge group of beautiful people, friends, that I can share all my intimate thoughts and music and learning and everything else.
That's awesome. We love you too.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to go, I think I brushed past one, Vance said, Vance, I apologize. The Nat said something about the life he was walking through. And this was one scripture here. But without faith, it is impossible to please God, for he who comes to him must first believe he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. I don't know what you're seeking, Matthew, but you know, in my constitution, from a background of faith, it's like I know that as I continue to move closer to God, he moves closer to me. He's actually a rewarder. So as the dad says, find that passion, that spice, find that thing and move toward it.
Right.
Anyway, I'm not going to preach, okay? No sermon today. Maybe tomorrow.
That's fine. I mean, I'm a very spiritual person. I believe in God, and you know, I personally don't make a lot of biblical references, but my mom is quoting scripture all the time, and you know, and we help each other stay. I guess we help each other keep our faith during the rough times. You know, her being a little bit more quote unquote religious, and me being a little bit more woo woo, spiritual. But it works. You know,
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah. Understood. Well, I made it a point that, you know, as we were building this up together, that I was not going to try to downplay who I am. You know what I mean? Because I have to be the most genuine Jerry that I could possibly be. How else could I be anything else? And this is a part of me, because there was a part of my life, 18 years, where there was no faith, where there was no boundaries, where it was a lack of discipline. And like I said about my mindset, and it was crazy. And those were the people that the talent scouts were looking for, so that they could control and manipulate you. Because yes, if you're smoking cocaine and if you're drinking that, and if you don't have any boundaries, but you have a talent, we can exploit that. You understand what I mean? So by God's grace, he did not let me sign those contracts so I could be out there and then it's like, this cat is nuts, you know, or worse, because all it would do was lead to destruction. So anyway, to continue forward, discernment is an imperative to living out my life in all of my potential and understanding. That's what my discernment is. Because does it make sense for me? The one thing that we agree on as EntreMusicians is the fact that even when we get together and we're discussing stuff, there can be spirited conversations, because that might work for you, but that's not where I'm headed. And that's great. You have to have your own discernment about the direction that you want your music career to go. Discernment reveals the dynamics between my focus and my creativity, because I have to guide that thing, because I just can't let that focus run willy-nilly. I have to point it to the target that it needs to go. Nanad, I'm going to ask you to do this as we're wrapping up, because he has a concept for his albums. His albums are themed albums. The songs have a theme to them because he's pointed his creativity in the direction. This is the message that I'm trying to get across. And every song talks or parts of a whole of this theme. And I think that's where discernment comes in. He illustrates it brilliantly through his music. My emotions do not control me, because once my emotions control me, I'm out of control. So I know how to walk into a situation where I can read the room. I can read people. I can understand what's being said. And in any communication, you understand what's not being said as well, right? That's discernment. Right. Everything I was born with needs to be sharpened and trained, including my discernment. Discernment is my protective agent. I know that you guys, they call it the sixth sense or something, but you know, that you've been around some people and it's just like, It's just an energy. It's just a vibe. It's just a thing. You know, I don't want to come in like a hater or anything, but my discernment tells me I need to keep you at arm's length. And that's okay because it can be a protective thing. Therefore, I discipline myself. I fix what is wrong. Here are questions about discernment. What do I see when I look inside of myself? What do I see when I scan the horizon of my dream? What do I see? You got to spend some time with that. Take a weekend to go, what do I see? Because again, it's your dream, it's your life. What miracles do I see myself creating or performing? My songs can change people's lives. I'll tell you one story. It'll take 23 seconds. First album, Perseverance, that one that was released in 2002. The last song on that album is called Under the Shadows. It was, it's so different from the rest of the album. I wasn't even going to put it on there, even though I had wrote it. But we put the song on there. It doesn't have any beat. It's just strings and vibes. And we have these ladies singing. And it's about the protection of God, hiding under the shadow of his wing. I received an email from a lady in Pittsburgh, in fact. Her first name is Marsha. I'll never forget this. Long email. And it's an email of Thanksgiving saying, so grateful that that song was on the album. She enjoyed the album, but her mother was placed in the hospice when she received that album. And her mother liked that song and told them to put that CD, that song, on repeat and actually transitioned from this life while that song was playing. Now, listen, let me tell you right now, today, you can't give me a Grammy or an Emmy or any award that's going to hold any ground. That from the first album was the cement of my why is intact. This is why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to change lives. So when I see myself creating music, I go, thank you, God, because this might be a miracle for someone else. I'm just a conduit. It's just flowing through me to affect others. And again, how do I immediately begin to sharpen my focus? So this is going to be the end of our time together, but I've put together a 3-day Thrive journey because this just really does scratch the surface. This coming Friday at 6 o'clock, and then Saturday and Sunday, because we have a long weekend, we're doing the MDF 3-day, which every day, Friday, we just work on mindset, Saturday, discipline, and Sunday morning focus. I'm not a salesman. Take it or not. I'm not going to throw in any kitchen knives or Tupperware or anything like that as a bonus. It is what it is. But if you want to spend those 3 days, 3 hours, 3 days, we get really deeper into how do I do this? Because I know that's going to change the focus of my life and the career. So that's pretty much it tonight.
Great story, Jerry. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is a very, very powerful story.
Yeah, my life was affected. It kind of set the trajectory of what sound doctrine would be, because, of course, you just want to make music and you want to get famous and you want to get big and you want to do the high paying jobs. But that broke me down because I wasn't even going to put that song on the album.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's awesome.
Thank you. So this is recorded. Everybody will get a copy of this recording. Of course, those who signed up and said they signed up for the recording because they couldn't make it or be here in person. But you know how to get in touch with me. I think my Matthew, how to get to the EntreMusician.com and all my content.
Let's see. I'm looking.
It's right here again.
Yeah, I have your emails there with your Jerry B at the EntreMusician.com. I got your email address and yeah. And I'm pretty sure I've been on your website. It was probably some time. I discovered you through Michael Elsner. You had done something with him at some point in time, and I can't remember how long ago that was. And so you've been on my radar for quite some time. And then just this, your last email talking about mindset, I knew this was something that I had to check out because I really think that that's where I'm having my problem issues right now. I won't call it a problem. Maybe it is a problem, but that's where I need to make some adjustments for sure.
Absolutely. Well, you think about the 3-day, if that's something that you want to do, that's fine. If you want to schedule some personal time, that's fine as well. When you bring up
Okay.
Michael actually was on, well, I took his class, I took his course, Master Music Licensing.
Mhm.
Then when we did the TV show, Michael was one of the guys that came on to critique some music. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and so he gave me a big write-up or something in one of his newsletters, and I didn't think
Yeah,
it was really very cool for him to do that.
yeah. Very, very cool. Yeah, and that's the path I'm pursuing, is that music licensing path. And I've been doing it longer than I thought I would be, which is a good thing, but now I'm encountering new things that I need to work out. Um, so I don't know if I will be able, and then I'm just being completely transparent and honest with you right now, Jerry. I probably won't be able to do the workshop this weekend because I'm doing a family thing.
Absolutely. It is the Labor Day weekend, I
But
realize.
I'd love to, if I can shoot you an email and maybe we can, schedule some time. That would be great,
Absolutely. And I'll invite you as a guest to one of our Sunday nights. We get together on Sunday night. We won't be doing it this Sunday because of the holiday, but every Sunday at 6 o'clock, unless there's a holiday, those who can make it do. Hannah, like I said, and how come I can't think of the gentleman's name? He was just on with us. Jiminy, he's getting this recording, Thomas,
Thomas.
and the Nad, are
It's
part.
not six. It's not 6 p.m. for me. It's midnight for me.
It's
so-
midnight. Yeah, like it
Yeah.
is now. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's now it's 1:39 a.m. Where I am.
Oh, wow.
mindset, right? That's mindset. Discipline.
Yeah, that's discipline right there. It's
But
definitely some
it's
discipline.
filled with enjoyment, so
Yeah,
so it's quite easy. Yeah.
That's
very
real.
cool.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
if all hearts and minds are clear, like I said before, I'll email you this as soon as the Zoom stops. You'll get this replay and we'll move forward. You guys know how to reach me.
Yeah, sounds great. It was great meeting all of you today, and thank you for all your wisdom. And yeah, I look forward to, you know, uh, connecting with you again, Jerry. And the Sunday night thing sounds great. I mean, Sunday nights are always a good night to, I think, im- get some wisdom imparted, and helps you focus. It helps you kind of refocus your mindset for the upcoming week. So I'd like to be a part of that for
Very
sure.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you, Jerry. And I'm out for this weekend. I've got my mom's 80th birthday and all kinds of stuff going on. But this was wonderful. Great to meet you and good to see you as always, Nenad.
Yeah. Thank you. You too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Well, many blessings to you all.
yeah. Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
All right. Have a
Good
good
night.
night.
Have a good